Hello everyone, the title of this video is COVID and Centaurs or Centaurus. It was quite fascinating to me to see how the Centaurs resurfaced all of a sudden in mainstream media. I looked at it, and the first mention was on Twitter on the 14th of July, and it is on and off ever since. Some of the news agents use the expression centaur, and some of them don't. This is a variant, of course, a COVID variant. And if you look around, you can see that the war is no longer front page news, although a lot of people die, although a whole country is totaled, practically. The food chain is completely destroyed. The supply chains are completely destroyed. And mankind is going towards some sort of annihilation, which the world leaders are trying to push on us. And yes, the Sun-Pluto opposition was indeed interesting because we saw a lot of funny news. For instance, one of them was that in the EU, what they want to try to do now is to push on the nation states some sort of directive who can use how much gas, which is completely a national thing. So the EU has no right to interfere, but of course they are trying to do that. So it really turns into Soviet Union in many ways, and they're no longer even hiding their agenda. The problem is that the EU leaders and world leaders as such are stupid. They are dishonest. They are crooks. They are, and the problem to me is because be a crook, but be smart. But no, these are stupid idiots. They are morons. That's the problem. And I don't know what's going to happen. If you look at my video on 2022, the main theme was that I don't know what is going to happen, but whatever happens, you will decide, and it will make your destiny for a longer period. So it will kind of lock in your destiny for quite a long period of time, because this year's main feature is the nodal axis. It makes all sorts of aspects to the outer planets, and so it's a deeply fated flavor. It gives a deeply fated flavor to the space-time, which is this year. Now let's take a look at today, because when they mentioned Centaur, actually not today, because I went back to the 14th of July, the Basti Day. Isn't that funny? I mean, you should know that no one actually did anything with the Basti. This is a complete lie. I mean, it's like, this is how you create fake news and fake myths. Truly, it's ridiculous. But anyhow, so it happened on the 14th, and it was mentioned on Twitter, the Centaurus version of COVID. And I got curious. Let's take a look at the chart itself, and let's see if any of the centaurs are prominent. Well, if you look at the chart, and if you use Aries and the four main asteroids, you will see that there's a nice T-square. Actually, this was there already in the Sun-Pluto opposition, featuring Pluto in Capricorn retrograding at the moment, Aries in Aries, and Ceres in Cancer. And this T-square describes the war, drastically altered outward circumstances, the powers that be, the deep state energy, and Ceres, the nurturing principle, also our home, our family, our homeland, our nation. That is the main energy. And there's also a mini trapeze. The sides are semi-sextile. Those are very, these are really just steps, really. So it's nothing too much to climb on top. The base is a trine between the Ceres Neptune, and that is a blessing on how we are looking at our family. The top is the Venus Aries sextile. the drastically altered outward circumstances are affecting our well-being and harmony and money creating faculties. Sorry. And of course, the inside is very interesting because those are two squares, and those are the main tension creating aspects, because there's a Ceres Aries. They are just trying to destroy our home, our well-being, our nurturing principles. And of course, the Venus Neptune is really ideology based, money based on ideology. Let's put it this way. Okay, here are the transcendental celestial objects. I'm not going to elaborate these because these were all in the Sun-Pluto opposition. So just 2 days ago, I posted the Sun-Pluto opposition video. But just for you to take a look at it, these were the main features of the transcendental objects. What I would like to show you are the centaurs. First of all, whenever I see a T-square, I always take a look at the empty corner, because the T-square is really just half of the chart. And if I can find another object opposite the apex, then all of a sudden I have a ground cross. And the ground cross is always more interesting and more maybe easier to deal with, because you have the full chart and you also have an even energy. The energy flow is somehow evened out. There are no corners where the main tension is focused, because all four corners are important. And yes, I did find Haumea. Haumea is a Hawaiian creation goddess who is constantly making children, and she is sleeping with her sons and then grandsons, and constantly renewing and rejuvenating herself in order to again conceive and have more children and more children. So it's like the proliferation of fertility. That is how you can describe Haumea. And of course, the karma link to it is always about fertility, how fertile you are, and what are your fertility issues. So all of a sudden, this is a cardinal ground cross. But then I was interested whether you see other centaurs prominent in this space-time moment on the 14th of July. And lo and behold, yes, there are quite a few centaurs at 26, 27 degrees. I kept here Ceres and Venus. Of course, they are not centaurs. I kept here so you can see that there's something at every point. And I just want you to know that Sagittarius is empty, but it's not really empty. You have the galactic center at 27 degrees Sagittarius. The reason I didn't put it in there, because you can't have any aspects besides only conjunctions with galactic points and fixed stars. There's no normal aspects, because these celestial objects are not part of the solar system. They are out there in the universe, so you can't have trines and squares and whatever is with them. But actually, this corner is also not empty. I'm just letting you know. So let's take a look at what we have here. In Aries, we have Aries, of course, drastically altered outward circumstances. In Taurus, there's Alicanto at 24 degrees. You might remember that Alicanto has a very, very long orbit, 36 to 38,000, even 40,000 years. We don't exactly know how long, but definitely more than 35,000 years. So actually what happens is you can't, so it's not going to move anywhere. So Alicanto is there, and Pelion and Mos Somnus are also there. Mos Somnus in Latin, in Roman mythology, are death and sleep. And it was very prominent in the COVID charts and throughout the COVID hysterics in 2020. It was very, very prominent. And it is quite prominent at the moment as well. And you can see in the news that COVID is coming back. Of course, that's why the have this new variant, or this is a variant B2 or something like that, B2 point something, which actually got the name Centaurus. So it's quite fascinating. And you have Pelion, which is the mountain where the caves of the centaurs are. Not Cancer, this is Leo. What did I do? Sorry. Again, changing things in the making. So in Leo, you have Stila Nunam. Stila Nunam is the earth and the sky in Inuit mythology. And it is about, this centaur is about how you create with the help of earth and sky, what and how you create. In Virgo, you have Riphonos. Actually, this is I put in a Y, but this is a mistake. This is how you spell it. So Riphonos. And Riphonos was one of the 12 sprites that Zeus selects in order to keep Hercules safe. They are serving at his cradle. And Riphonos takes this task so seriously that he actually turns himself into a centaur, because he thinks that in this way he can be more efficient. So it's a complete transformation for the sake of a task that you enable yourself with. In Libra, you have Haumea, we already looked at it. In Scorpio, you have Ceto, which is toxic emotions. Incidentally, you still have two quite important asteroids as well. Pandora, which is all the horrible things of mankind are opening up and are actually bombarding us. And Atropos, which is the third of the fates, who is cutting the thread of life. Not very nice. Okay, in Capricorn, as I said, in Sagittarius, you have the galactic center, but it's not going to form any configuration, so I left it out. But you know that it's there, so you should be able to know that it's there. And on Pluto, you have three other centaurs around, Aries and Amicus. And Aries is important maybe because it is, I think I mentioned this in these were mentioned in the Pluto video, so I'm not going to waste my time with it. Because if you look at these, that all of a sudden, and you look for really strong aspect patterns of pictures, this is what you see. There's the cardinal cross, which I already showed you. There's also a fixed cross, which I'm going to look in detail. And there's a mutable T-square. The mutable T-square is Riphonos, Neptune, and Venus. That's the mutable one. It is not turned into a mutable ground cross simply because, as I said, Sagittarius has no centaurs there at the moment. And here's the ground cross. And these are all centaurs. There's no other planets here. So, and of course, it's the fixed ground cross. And the fixed ground cross in a chart always describes some sort of unfinished, unresolved, deeply karmic business, something that you have not been able to tackle, you haven't even probably tried in previous lifetimes. And it is on you, it's upon you, you're carrying it on your shoulders, and it's a very heavy burden. So that's what the fixed ground crosses mean. And let's take a look, let's take this apart, okay? On the one corner, you have Pelion, Mors Somnus, and Alicanto, and opposite is Ceto. So actually, the war and the death and the pandemic, okay, and our home are threatened by toxic emotions, and of course the Pandora and Atropos are also there. So all the problems of mankind are pushed upon us. Really, everything. I mean, look around: pandemic, famine, fear of dying because of we won't have fuel. It's ridiculous. And then the other side, other opposition is Stila Nunam, Earth and Sky, opposite Crantor, and Crantor, you might remember, is he is a man, not a centaur, in a bottle where he suffers death because Pallas Athena is diverting a log that was pushed against Theros, but she prevents him from dying, and actually Centaur is receiving it. So it's the be at the wrong place at the wrong time. That is opposite at the moment, Sila Nunam, which is earth and sky. So we are really, as Teresa usually says, my dear friend in England, we couldn't make this up. We couldn't. But luckily there are trines as well. We don't have a fire ground trine, because we are missing this corner. So I did not put in this trine up here, but all the grand trines are there otherwise. We have a water ground trine involving Ceres, Sato, and Neptune, Okiro. So that's one blessing. There's another, an air ground trine, Venus, Venus, Haumea, and Centaur. And we also have an earth grand trine. Out of the grand trines, earth is the best to have. Well, the rest is trickier. But we have the Pelion, Alicanto, Somnus on one corner, Riphonos on the other corner, and the Pluto, Aran, Orius, Amicus in the third corner. So those are the trines. And of course, there are quincunxes as well. I mean, take a look. Let's go back to the original drawing that I put together. These are the celestial object at 26, 27 degrees. So I could have put this all in one chart, but you would not have been able to distinguish between the patterns. So that's why I made all these drawings for you. So you can actually take them apart as you watch them, and or if you make a screenshot out of these, you can actually go. Now, what is a finger of fate? Something that my master Judy Hall worked a lot with, not mentioning the fact that she gave 6, even 7 degrees to a, she's really like white orbs. So does Liz Green, by the way. I use very, very tight orbs. As you could see, these are like 1, maybe 2 degrees, because I believe that a configuration, a planetary picture works with tight orbs only. And fingers of fate, according to Judy Hall, are the most fated, most karmic aspect configurations as there are. Actually, the boomerang, when you have an opposite point and the 2 semi-sextiles joining, those are even more fated because it shows that it comes back. And quincunxes are very disruptive aspects, because these are signs almost opposite each other, on opposite side of the globe, so to speak, or the celestial globe, and they denote either opposite seasons or opposite ideas, and not yet oppositions, because with the opposition you have the saving grace of trying to find some resolution in the middle, meeting them in the middle, so to speak. And also with oppositions you have usually 2 positive or 2 negative signs, earth and water versus fire and air. But here you don't have this at all. You have things that are mutually exclusive and not very reconcilable, and that is why you can't really understand quincunxes, how they work. Basically, quincunxes give you a very unresolvable energy in the first place, because sometimes they work like a trine and sometimes they work like a square or an opposition, and there is the pattern is always changing, and you can't be sure what is resurfacing. It's one of the most disruptive aspects in synastry. It's really not very nice when you have this with your partner, because for instance, in one moment everything is fine between you, communication or sex or understanding, and the next 5 minutes everything is falling apart. And that's exactly what's happening with fingers of fate. You have 2 quincunxes, but the saving grace here is always the sextile. So if you go and take a look at these fingers of fate, the main energy is at the apex. That is where the main tension is, and the resolution comes from the sextiles. So you can have Venus, Sila Nunam, create money and harmony from earth and sky. There's another one, Ceres, Riphonos, make sacrifices for the sake of your nurturing principle, your family, your homeland, and so on. So you can actually work yourself through these aspects and see what is there for you, what is there to understand. These are centaurs. Centaurs, you can actually find meaning for centaurs in many places. You have websites. There are a lot of people working with centaurs, and the easiest way to understand what they do is to read the myth. Read Metamorphosis by Ovid, and you will see what role they are playing, and then it is easy to see what sort of karmic wound or karmic misery they describe, and always there's also the healing potential in them. So yes, this is it's a centaur moment. Centaurs are very, very prominent. Not all of them, of course. There are like 60, 70 now named, so there are many of them, but some of them are quite prominent and some of them are not very nice. So there's still hope that maybe the powers that be are realizing that they can't force 8 billion people to abandon their security, their safety, their food, their homes. Hopefully they will understand. If not, that's it, folks. You know, that's it. A lot of people won't survive the next year. They won't survive the winter, unfortunately, here in Europe, which is ridiculous. And I don't know what's going to happen, to tell you the truth. I hope I didn't make you too sad or too feeling too miserable, but that's it. We need to do something, and there are weapons in our hands. For instance, the sheer multitude of us and our voice. So that's why I am also sounding my voice. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.